The ROG Ally leaks are coming fast and furious, and I've been watching in my comments, on Twitter, on Reddit, and on Discord to see the reaction to it, and I just want to say this. All of the discussion around the ROG Ally proves one thing about the Steam Deck and the Deck Gang. Y'all are a loyal bunch. What's good, Deck Gang? I'm back with another Steam Deck news roundup, and I have to say many of you sound like there's very little that Asus or anyone else can do to get you to switch from Steam Deck to the ROG Ally, even if it does manage to come in at under $700, and I can respect that. This community is easily the Steam Deck's greatest strength, and any other PC handheld is going to have an uphill battle when it comes to challenging that throne, and it's going to take a lot more than just specs to get there. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about this battle against the Steam Deck that the ROG Ally is setting itself up for, and whether or not it's really a battle at all. As usual, let's start with the smaller stuff and work our way up to that larger story. Let's kick things off with another Humble Bundle. This is their April selection for Humble Choice. If you don't know, Humble Choice is a monthly subscription, but the good kind, because they give you Steam keys so you get to keep your games and you can cancel or pause whenever you want to. The April selection is a good deal for deck owners because 7 out of 8 games are verified. Revita is the only game that's not verified, but it actually works incredibly well if you use the community controller layout. Shout out to the ProtonDB plugin for Decky Loader, which makes it easy to see if there is a way to get an unsupported game working on the Steam Deck. Everything in this bundle gets 80% positive reception, but of course, I would say that the standouts are Death Stranding Director's Cut, Rollerdrome, and Life is Strange 2. I love Rollerdrome, and now I have an extra key, so I'm giving that away here. Thanks to an awesome viewer named Will, I'm also giving away a key to Death Stranding Director's Cut. Just hit the like button on this video and drop a thoughtful comment below, and I'll pick a winner in 24 hours. By the way, if you have duplicate keys and want to make sure they find a good home, feel free to reach out to me. I gave Will a key in the past and he wanted to pay it forward to one of my viewers on this channel, and I'm happy to do that. Thanks again, Will. Alright, it appears that the Steam Deck will be showing up in more retail stores. This is actually breaking news. I had the video ready to go, and then a friend on the FTD's Discord, Recycled Spirit, shared a link to this news. Gaming on Linux is reporting that Komodo has announced that they're expanding their retail presence. The Steam Deck will come to its first retail store in Japan on April 29th, including an in-store trial event that runs through May 7th. Komodo has also said that more retail partners will be being announced, including partners for South Korea. Of course, this all follows Komodo bringing the Steam Deck to stores in Hong Kong and Taiwan. So it's good to see this presence, but I know Australians and other fans around the world are looking for an official release in their region as well. Here's hoping this happens sooner rather than later. Next up, Valve just released Proton 8. Technically speaking, this is a huge update to Proton, and Pierre-Luc calls it the biggest rebase yet. Specifically, this means that there's a huge update under the hood from Wine 7 to Wine 8.0. This alone brings some performance improvements, but also should get us closer to the upcoming HDR update that's actually currently available in Wine 8.1. So we should likely see this come to Proton in the next minor update. That's actually kind of a big deal. We've known HDR was coming for a while now, and it seems we're coming to the finish line on this feature. No one that reported on this update seemed to pick that up, so I did want to point it out here for my audience. And just as a reminder, the Steam Deck display does not support HDR, so HDR on Steam Deck would be for docked play only. Of course, that's not the only update. This also brings us up to date on other dependencies like the DirectX to Vulkan layer, as well as Wine Mono. Generally speaking, you really shouldn't have to do anything here, and this is mostly stuff you would have seen by now in Proton Experimental if you were using that, including fixes that make the following games playable: Forspoken, the Dead Space remake, Neo 2, and of course, the venerable Chex Quest HD. So yeah, you should get this update automatically, and as always, it's great to see Valve continue to get this updated on a regular and timely basis. Speaking of Valve updates, there's actually a new hardware revision from Valve out in the wild. Shout out to Reddit user Zom, who shared the details on this. This was originally found on a Chinese forum, Baidu. After translating that thread, a few things were learned. Apparently, this is a revision that is being released first in Asia, or perhaps even region-specific altogether. As for hardware, there's a new fan and a slightly different motherboard to accommodate the fan. Additionally, the Wi-Fi module has been moved. It was previously under the M2 slot, so the drive had to be removed to access it. The retention bracket for the heatsink now has different mounts, and apparently the thermal pad between the heatsink and the EMI shield are now gone. There was an interview that Valve did with The Verge back in December where they said they're continuing to make hardware revisions, and this is more evidence of that. One thing they mentioned they'd like to do is make the battery much easier to replace, but that is a hard problem to solve. Hopefully that's something that we do get to see in a future hardware revision. Another important update that's coming for the Steam Deck is the update to the RAD-V driver with Mesa 23.1. Valve's Linux team have been working on a feature for months called Graphics Pipeline Library, or GPL, and now this feature is going to be enabled by default in this new driver. The benefit of this is that it allows compiled shaders to be reused more often, and because of this ability to reuse pipelines and avoid duplication, that means that your shader compilation actually happens much faster, which will improve load speeds and reduce stutters. Likewise, Mesa 23.1 also comes with improvements to the size of your shader cache. The merge request for this actually states that this reduces the cache size by approximately 60%. That's a huge improvement. As you know, shader caches can take up quite a bit of space, so a 60% reduction could free up a ton of space on your drive. And if you're interested in performance improvements, be sure to check out the latest overclocking and undervolting guide from CryoByte33. You should proceed with caution if you plan on overclocking your Steam Deck, but that's why this video is so nice. Even if you don't want to do it yourself, it's very informative to see the process as well as the results. For undervolting, it seemed like there wasn't too much of a performance hit for the games that Kyle tested, but he increased his battery life by 16%. Conversely, for overclocking, Kyle got a 6% boost in performance for Elden Ring specifically, which did come at a hefty cost, a 35% reduction in battery life, and a considerably louder fan. Of these two, I would definitely be more interested in undervolting, but yeah, this was an awesome guide and well worth checking out. And here's a curiosity from earlier this week. Many tech companies have internal hackathons where they pilot what could eventually become a new effort at the company. And so a recent hackathon at Microsoft included a pilot for a Steam Deck gaming mode in Windows. 3 weeks of development time was spent on this with the goal of looking into a few of the roughest edges for the deck experience on Windows. Here's the initial pitch. Windows handheld mode, a hackathon project, and possibly a start to a better future for Windows handhelds. If Windows wants a place in the handheld gaming market, the experience will require targeted customizations, optimizations, and occasionally new, unique features to compete against other OSs. The intent of this hackathon project is to start with the Steam Deck, smooth over many of the roughest edges, and see where we can go from there. The initial goals for the pilot included making deck controls work fluidly in Xbox games, also Xbox app games reliably opening and playable resolutions, a better Xbox app with improved UI and scaling, and support for navigation with deck controls, and a keyboard that's optimized for the Steam Deck. And while it does seem like the hackathon project had some successes, the person that started this project shared that they, quote, just didn't have the right engineers to do a lot of what we wanted to do in the short hackathon project timeframe, end quote. It seems like it would take some effort to really get this working, and it sounded like Phil Spencer himself may be on board, but it may still be difficult for this project to gain traction internally. Here's hoping this newfound publicity helps the cause. And before we move to the ROG Ally, I actually have some good news for those of you that have been waiting for more stores from the sponsor of today's video, Micro Center. I've said it before, but Micro Center is my happy place. They have 25 stores nationwide, and I'm happy to announce that for the first time in 8 years, Micro Center is opening a new store this summer. The new store will be in Indianapolis, but if you're not in the Indy area, they are opening 2 more stores by 2025, so keep your eyes peeled for those. If you are in Indianapolis, be sure to sign up and visit the store to get a 128GB flash drive for free. All you have to do is go to the store. And whether or not you are in the Indy area, Micro Center does have several other great deals going on right now. The big theme for the month is actually Micro Center's Apple Savings event. They have great deals on a ton of Apple products, including iPads, Apple Watches, AirPods, and AirPod Maxes, not to mention $200 off MSRP for the MacBook Pro 16-inch in space gray. Great deals all in all, especially considering how rarely Apple products go on sale. And don't forget, if you are a new Micro Center customer, make sure to redeem this coupon for a free 256GB SSD because heck yeah, it's free. So yeah, check out Micro Center online or in person for these amazing deals. Thank you, Micro Center, for sponsoring this video. Alright, let's talk about the ROG Ally because Asus is certainly trying to come for the Steam Deck, and I'm curious to examine whether or not this is going to be real competition. So the Asus ROG Twitter account posted this tweet right here. They said that the ROG Ally is set to release worldwide and it may be sooner than we expect. This is all a bit of a revelation, to be honest. At least for me, I was convinced that this was coming much later in the year at the earliest, especially if it's actually going to be distributed in Best Buy and potentially other retail stores around the world. So to hear it may actually be coming soon is surprising, to say the least. More specifically, Linus from Linus Tech Tips has stated that Asus ROG Ally will be released in the next 2 months. Then came the leak brought to us by videocards.com. This particular leak seems credible as videocards.com is typically a reliable source, and more importantly, they provide their own source, which in this case is a shipping manifest with a product code that is known to be an exact match to the Ally. In any case, these leaks confirm that at least one of the ROG Ally models will feature a Ryzen 7 7840 APU. This chip is in fact the successor to the 6800U that we've seen in so many handhelds so far, like the Neo 2 and the AOK Zoe A1. Likewise, the Fox has recently just announced that just like the Ally, the upcoming GPD Win Mini will be sporting a 7840U as well. So it would seem this could be the main chip we see in the upcoming wave of handheld PC releases. That kind of calls into question the marketing claim from Asus that this is a custom APU, but VideoCards goes on to say that the processor might have been altered in some way specifically for Asus. And one more thing that VideoCards notes here is that there are 2 different variants for the ROG Ally. One has a product code of RC71L and matches what is in the shipping manifest, and the other has a product code of RC71X, and that one was not in the shipping manifest. As of now, we don't know the difference between the 2 models, and it could be as small as a color variation, or it could have different specs altogether. In fact, by now, most people are speculating that while the better of the 2 models will sport the 7840U, it's likely that the cheaper of the 2 models will have a 7640U on board. This has led to the expectation that it's actually the 7640U model that will be priced at $650, leaving the more powerful ROG Ally to be priced somewhere starting at $900. And to quote a member of the ROG Ally Discord who goes by Hi-Fi Hedgehog, if it is $900, it ain't no Steam Deck killer. Upgrade? Yes. Killer? Hardly. Nonetheless, the discussion around this pricing is still very speculative, and I'm not quite sure what to expect. I will say that even if Asus can be competitive with pricing, I still don't think that's going to affect Steam Deck sales in any meaningful capacity. First of all, there's a sort of loyalty I alluded to in the beginning of this video. That loyalty is driven by things like SteamOS and trackpads. For SteamOS, this is once again a good opportunity for Valve to either release an official ISO or partner with Asus for an Ally-specific build of SteamOS. I know there's a lot that goes into that, so I don't want to trivialize the effort, but I do wish we were further along, as this would go a long way towards me being even more excited about the Ally. With regard to trackpads, I'm starting to not need them as much as I used to. For many of you, I absolutely understand why it would be impossible to let go of trackpads. Some genres can be completely unplayable without them. For me personally, I used to use them for boomer shooters, which is the genre I am particularly fond of. But I've gotten really acclimated to using flickstick, so as long as a handheld has good gyro, I don't absolutely need dual trackpads. Still though, if you're heavy into RTSs or some CRPGs, trackpads do remain a necessity. Even outside of those genres, there are plenty of good reasons for trackpads. In any case, the point is, a lot of people that really enjoy the Steam Deck aren't just going to pick up a new handheld. If anything, they're just willing to wait for the Steam Deck 2. On the other hand, I don't think Asus is simply looking to entice the existing Steam Deck user base. I think they're looking at the Steam Deck as a launch pad, and I think Valve sees it the same way. Valve wants other handhelds to succeed, and in many ways it feels like Valve only really made the Steam Deck because no one else succeeded in making console-like PC hardware, so finally they were like, fine, I'll do it myself. And at the end of the day, their goal is simply for more people to enjoy PC gaming because it invariably means more people will buy games on Steam. And that actually relates to my most recent video where I tell you about the worst Steam Deck take that I have. Check it out.